What are you upset with us for?
The crowd was still in a frenzy, chanting and celebrating the events of the night. Justo, fresh off his hard-fought victory, stood tall in the ring, basking in the love of the audience. But the atmosphere quickly turned to one of confusion and tension when Gunther's music blared through the speakers, signaling the arrival of the former world heavyweight champion. Gunther, looking like a man possessed, stormed down the ramp with a fury in his eyes that told the world he wasn't here for an interview or a promo. No, this was a man on a mission, and the only thing he had on his mind was destruction. His gaze fixed firmly on the commentary table, where Michael Cole and Pat McAfee were providing the color commentary for the night's matches. Gunther's fury boiled over as he launched himself towards the table, his face twisted in rage. The fans watched in stunned silence, unsure of what was happening, but it was clear that this was not the usual scripted chaos of wrestling. Gunther was out of control, his eyes wild as he screamed at the commentators. "You think you can mock me? You think you can disrespect me?" His words were laced with venom, as if the entire world had wronged him. Before anyone could react, Gunther shoved Michael Cole violently to the ground. The arena gasped in horror as the headset flew from Cole's head and the veteran commentator crashed to the floor. In an instant, chaos erupted. Commentators are typically off-limits in the world of WWE, but Gunther didn't care about the unwritten rules. His anger was consuming him. Triple H's bombshell, the firing announcement. After the Raw broadcast ended, the atmosphere in the arena was still heavy with shock. The chaos that unfolded on screen had only just begun to settle when the aftermath continued at the press conference. WWE's press conferences are usually a formality, with reporters asking questions, wrestlers offering sound bites, and everyone quickly heading home. But this time the room was filled with palpable tension, and the atmosphere was electric. Reporters were eager to hear what Triple H, the head of WWE, had to say about the night's events. As the cameras flashed and the room buzzed with chatter, Triple H stepped up to the podium. His face was stern, his usual calm demeanor replaced by an intensity that matched the gravity of the situation. He didn't waste any time with pleasantries. "What we witnessed tonight was unacceptable," he began, his voice steady, but with a hint of controlled anger. His words cut through the tension in the room like a knife. The silence that followed was deafening as everyone waited for what came next. "WWE has a zero-tolerance policy for violence against our staff," Triple H continued, his eyes locking with the reporters. "Gunther's actions crossed a line, and we've taken immediate steps to address it." The room fell into stunned silence as Triple H paused. Reporters were scribbling furiously, trying to process what was happening. Then, the bombshell dropped. Effective immediately, Triple H's voice rang out. "Gunther is fired from WWE." The room erupted in shock. Cameras clicked rapidly as reporters shouted questions. But Triple H held up a hand, signaling the end of the press conference. A bold statement. Why Gunther's firing matters. Triple H's announcement was a game-changer. This wasn't just a firing. It was a statement. WWE has always been about power, control, and the sanctity of the business. Violence against commentators, especially someone like Pat McAfee, was crossing a line that WWE simply could not ignore. Gunther, a top talent, a seasoned and dominant force in the ring, had clearly lost his mind. But the real question was this a real firing? Or was it just a way to write Gunther off for a while, a setup for a potential comeback down the line? That's the beauty of professional wrestling. It blurs the lines between reality and fiction. It's hard to imagine WWE actually cutting ties with someone as valuable as Gunther. His talent, his intensity, his presence. It's what WWE thrives on. But maybe this was the breaking point. The attack on McAfee was a risk, a bold, unscripted move that WWE had no choice but to address swiftly and decisively. Firing Gunther could be WWE's way of taking back control of the situation, sending a message that no one is above the rules. However, considering WWE's history with storylines blurring the lines of reality, Gunther's firing could be part of a bigger plan. Remember when CM Punk walked out in 2014 and it became a years-long saga? Or when Triple H himself fired wrestlers, only to bring them back in dramatic fashion later? Could Gunther's firing be a way to build anticipation for his return, a redemption arc that will captivate the WWE Universe when the time is right. The fallout. What happens next? Gunther's firing has sent shockwaves through the WWE Universe, and the consequences of this bombshell are far-reaching. Gunther was not just a top-tier talent, he was a cornerstone of WWE's roster, a brutal force who could headline any pay-per-view and carry the weight of a title feud on his shoulders. His departure, whether permanent or part of an elaborate storyline, leaves a massive void in WWE's ranks. The loss of a star of his caliber leaves fans wondering, who will step up to fill the gap? In the immediate aftermath, this creates a power vacuum, one that could dramatically alter the landscape of WWE's upper echelon. Without Gunther, the door's wide open for fresh talent to rise to the occasion. The absence of one of the company's most dominant figures could create a whole new dynamic for the top of the card. New rivalries will form, new top contenders will emerge, and WWE's creative team now has the opportunity to craft new stories that push their stars into the spotlight. Perhaps a rising star like Braun Breaker, Ricochet, or LA Knight will seize the chance to fill the void Gunther leaves behind, taking his place as the next powerhouse of WWE. With the right direction, the roster could be reshaped into a more competitive and exciting place. Pat McAfee's role in the aftermath. While Gunther's future is uncertain, another major character, whose fate is now hanging in the balance, is Pat McAfee. The commentator-turned-wrestler found himself the victim of a savage attack, choked out twice by the enraged Gunther. McAfee, whose charisma and unique style have made him a fan favorite, could now be at a crossroads of his own. The brutal assault could serve as the perfect catalyst for McAfee to step back into the ring, and this is where the storyline possibilities start to get really exciting. McAfee has already proven his toughness at WrestleMania, and during his brief wrestling career, so fans would love to see him exact some kind of revenge against Gunther. Imagine this: McAfee, recovering from the attack, begins training in secret, perhaps working with a WWE legend to prepare himself for a showdown with Gunther. The fans would eat this up. After all, McAfee's personality is larger than life, and his charisma is contagious. A storyline where McAfee comes back, not as a commentator, but as a competitor, would offer an intriguing mix of real-life drama and professional wrestling storytelling. He could use this attack as a way to finally cement himself as more than just a commentator, turning his role from the funny, over-the-top host into a battle-hardened, revenge-driven fighter. The narrative would have all the makings of a WWE classic, a fan favorite driven by rage and a personal vendetta, seeking to right the wrongs done to him. McAfee could slowly build his way back to a match at the next big pay-per-view, perhaps even at SummerSlam, facing Gunther in a grudge match that would have the crowd buzzing for months. The build would be personal, emotional, and loaded with intensity, giving McAfee the chance to prove himself as more than just a commentator. The WWE landscape in flux. The impact of Gunther's firing is not just about the immediate void left behind, but the ripple effect it will have on the entire WWE Universe. For every loss, there is an opportunity. WWE now has the chance to cultivate new stars, create fresh rivalries, and chart an exciting course for the future. Whether it's through an unexpected new face in the main event scene, or an underdog story that takes over the WWE Universe, the landscape is wide open. But as fans of WWE know all too well, nothing is ever certain in this business. Is Gunther gone for good? Will McAfee turn his brutal assault into a career-defining moment? And who will step up to take Gunther's place as the company's top destroyer? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure. WWE is on the brink of something new, and the consequences of this moment will reverberate for months, if not years, to come. Stay tuned, wrestling fans. The Suplex Saga is just beginning, and the best is yet to come.